Many Christians, as a result of abortion politics, have, for very meaningful and well understood reasons, chosen to abstain from politics, for this election at least, because of stances on abortion. And so I wanted to just talk real quick about why abortion is so important to so many, and what really is wrong with abortion. What's wrong with the spontaneous, intentional ending of a human life in utero? What is wrong with that? Well, let's talk. So, number one, it's really good to know and define a couple terms, a couple of foundational terms that all people should agree on. Number one, the individual being or organism living within the woman after conception, the moment that the sperm and egg meet, that individual zygote has the genetics necessary and necessarily representative of one human individual for whatever specific gene code that they have. As such, the developing zygote is, by definition, genetically a human being. Now, if you want to ask about personhood, you can at a different point, but I don't think that's relevant to the discussion. The question is that if they are a human being in the genetic sense, which I think even most atheists would say is the only sense, and as such, we would say, well, if they're a human being in the genetic sense, they're a human being, and therefore, we should treat them as such. So, number one, genetically speaking, that is a human organism, a human distinct individual developing in a mother during the process of gestation. Number two is that the individual human being is not a part of the mother's body, but is a body in the mother's body. Now, this is a pretty important point that will help to clarify the common claims you hear, my body, my choice. Obviously, we wouldn't say that the baby is the mother's body, because if that were the case, then we'd have to say that the mother had two sets of genitals during pregnancy, but she ceased to have them after the pregnancy. So let's say a mother has let's say she's pregnant with a young baby boy. Well, in that case, for about 9 months, the mother would not just have a vagina, but also a penis. If the organism, the baby developing within her, was actually just her body. Because then that means that, the parts of that thing are also still her body. Which means that her body has not just a vagina, but also a penis. But that's not a thing that a mother would have, right? A grown woman would have. And so as a result, we know that it's ridiculous to say that. Likewise, if she had a little girl developing in her, women don't have two sets of female reproductive organs. And so as a result, we can understand through the absurdity of a claim otherwise that the baby developing within the mother is not themselves just the mother's body. They are a body within the mother. So it's not, the mother's body is not the baby's body. The baby's body is distinct from the mother's body. Therefore, the baby is a distinct human individual. The connection of a cord from the child to the mother just implies a type of reliance that the child has on the mother. But that doesn't mean that suddenly someone, because of a reliance on somebody else, that somehow makes them less human, because then we have to say that a child in their early years is reliant on other people. Yeah, thank you very much, Jack Ray. I'm trying to be very consistent about just trying to get some good facts stated while driving. But yeah, I appreciate that. Oh, and for everybody watching, please make sure to leave a like and comment a ton, because it helps to get this promoted to more people. It definitely helps a ton. But yeah, so again, fact number one, we all should be able to agree on: genetically, the individual organism living within the mother at the time of conception, from the sperm and egg meeting to form the zygote, is a human being genetically. Number two, that is a human individual being, right? As in, that is not the mother's body. The organism growing within her actually has DNA that's distinct from her, because it's not just, the mother's DNA. It's half of the mother's DNA and half of the father's DNA mixed around through crossing over of the various chromatids, right? And so it's a distinct, genetically unique human individual who is not the mother's body, but is a body in the mother's body. So that's fact number two that we should all be able to agree on. Fact number 3 is that it is wrong to terminate the life of an innocent person for no meaningful reason. It is wrong to terminate the life of an innocent human being for no reasonable reason, or for no reasonable purpose. Right? So, to clarify, if abortion is the termination of a life that has already begun, which, by the way, Planned Parenthood agrees with that definition. To be very clear, Planned Parenthood does agree with that definition. They actually show on their website, on Planned Parenthood's website, that abortion is the termination of a life that has already begun. So I'm not using something quite unique here to me only. Even abortion agencies understand this definition to be that abortion is the termination of a life that has already begun after conception. Then we would say that that is the intentional ending of a human life, right? That is what abortion is. You could say whatever you want, but it doesn't matter. Abortion is the intentional and willful ending or terminating of an innocent human life. So, if that's the fact, which it is, you have to answer a lot of questions. Like, for instance, number 1, if that's an innocent human life, in what cases should you ever consider, or not consider, but in what cases should you ever kill that innocent human life? In what case is it ever justified or reasonable to kill an innocent human life? Well, you could say that, maybe if the person's small, right, then you could kill them. Or maybe if you, oh, hello, Chibuke. Yeah, right on. Although, some people say, oh, well, you could kill a human being if they're small, if they're just a clump of cells. Now, fun fact, because I think a lot of people will say, oh, the fetus is just a clump of cells, so even if they are a human being, they're just less valuable, right? They're just a less valuable human being because all they are is a clump of cells. They're not fully developed. Well, these are two different claims. If you say the child is allowed to be killed because they're not fully developed, I would say, okay, at what point do we ever stop developing? Oh, when I came out of my mother's womb, was I just like fully developed and, I was able to speak perfectly and I was able to run and, I went through puberty the moment I was born like that? No, that's stupid. If we say that it's based off development, fun fact, you're developing your whole life. You're growing your whole life. You're developing. You're going through stages of aging. So to say that some human life is less valuable because it hasn't developed yet, that goes for the entire human population? Like, what kind of stupid thing? And then other people say, oh, well, it's just a clump of cells. It's just a clump of cells. Fun fact, a clump is just a mass of individual units, right? Well, what am I? As an adult, what am I? I am a clump of cells. I would be a large clump of cells. I would be a large clump of cells because I am a very large mass of individual units, those units being cells. Therefore, I am a clump of cells, just a large one. So the whole idea, it's just a clump of cells. Yeah, all of us are. By that, if you want to have a reductivist approach to like human nature and anthropology, what it means to be human, and you're going to just reduce a human down to their material state, then you might as well reduce all humans down to their material states. Now, I would say we are more than just clumps of cells. I obviously believe that we have a form which we call a soul. But besides that part, just going by their logic, reducing humans down to a material component, and that's the only thing that we are, I think we would have to say that applies to all human beings, because in a materialistic reductionist perspective, that is all that we are. We're all just clumps of cells. We're all just clumps of cells at that point. So might as well just, kill us all and justify all murder. That's stupid. It's just stupid. And again, for everybody who's watching, hi, please leave a like, drop some comments if you have questions about abortion or anything else. I know it's a controversial topic, but it's important to have these discussions, because if we don't do that here, well, whenever will we get a chance to? So again, we've had a chance to explain what abortion is. It's the intentional, willful ending of a human life, or of a innocent human life, because it's murder, which is what murder is, right? So that's abortion. And then we've also described how different people will try their best to justify it by saying, oh, it's just a clump of cells, or oh, it hasn't developed yet. But we've already explained that by that reductivist, materialistic standpoint, all humans are just clumps of cells. And by the other standpoint, right, it hasn't developed yet. Well, you developed during your whole life, so that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't mean anything valuable or significant. Some people will say something very strange. They'll say, oh, well, I would never get an abortion, but I wouldn't judge somebody else who decides to get one, or I wouldn't want to stop somebody else from getting an abortion. And to that, I like to give a lot of counter examples to show how foolish that is. Let's say I go up to someone and I say, oh, I would never own a slave, but I would, I would never do it, but I would not judge somebody else if they chose to do it. What would we say to that person? If somebody said that to you and they legitimately meant it, they actually said like, oh, I would never own a slave, but I wouldn't judge somebody who does. What would you say to that person? You'd probably say, what the heck, you wicked monster. We're not in that kind of society anymore. Slavery is wrong. We all recognize that as a culture, and we're beyond that. That's just bad. It doesn't, you should call out your friends for having slaves. You should. That's the thing you should do. Likewise, the claim, oh, I would never get an abortion, but I wouldn't judge people who do, is nonsense, because it's a moral matter. And if it is a moral matter, then you should be willing to tell other people that they shouldn't do something, or that they should do a good thing. They shouldn't do a bad thing. If it's a moral matter, then you can't just, find an easy way out of it by saying, oh, well, it's fine. Everyone can choose whatever they want. Some people even say, oh, like you see this with Tim Walz and Kamala Harris, but with Tim Walz especially, he'll say, I leave the decision about the viability and value of a life up to the child's mother and their doctor. That's stupid. Like that. There's no other way to say it. But that is stupid to say that you just leave up the defining of life to a mother and her doctor. So if the mother defines life as something which is similar to the mother's adult state, then she could easily just justify any kind of murder of her children, because she defines, life, biological life, meaningful, viable, valuable life, as anything which is similar to her. So if you have something younger, she could kill it. To claim that we should just let mothers decide what counts as living or not living, a worthwhile life or not, is an evil, wicked thing. Imagine, again, I use a lot of counterexamples because that's how people get the point across and that's how people understand it. So I'm just going to use that too. But imagine, just for a second, imagine, and you'll get this nice aesthetic of me driving at night like this. Imagine if I told you, right, that I think we should really let the definition of pedophilia be defined by a pedophile and their friends. You would probably say no, because then they would change the definition to make whatever they want to do more socially acceptable, right? They would try to say like, oh, pedophilia is this totally other thing. What I'm doing is really blank, 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 right? This is the issue. Again, if we just say that you can redefine the nature of morality so simply by finding a new definition within your own personal self-interests, then you open the door to a lot of nonsense. So, now that we're clear on that, we have a lot of basic definitions that are relevant to the abortion discussion, and those are very, very important for a couple reasons. Those are really important for a couple reasons. But, again, once we got all those definitions down, and hopefully I'll be able to do a PowerPoint presentation on this at a different point, when we get those definitions down, then the question about abortion becomes significantly easier. If we see that the value of a human life is consistent throughout, say for people who want to make a type of eugenics paradise, if we say that, all individual human beings have value, which we should, by the way, because, mind you, I think it's 92 or 93% of all babies who are read as being as if they're going to be born with Down syndrome, I think in Switzerland, but I have to check again. Maybe that's Greenland. But in one of those northern European nations, if you have a child who's going to be born with Down syndrome, that is a close to 100% abortion rate. And I think in England it's like 92 or 93. 92 or 93% abortion rate just because someone's going to be born with Down syndrome. And some people say, oh, well, that's not a life worth living, so we're really just ending it before they experience anything or any bullying or any difficulty. Who gets to decide that? Like, are you really going to decide for that child that their life is not worth living just because they're going to learn slightly differently from other people, or even very differently? Fun fact, I guarantee you that you cannot do all the things that other people can do. And there's other people in this world that can't do all the things that you can do. So if you judge the value of someone's life by what they can or cannot do, then you might as well just say that everyone's life is worthless, because nobody is really, this like supreme being of pure intellect, rationality, and reasonable thinking and physical fitness. So if we're saying that a life is not, to be lived, it's not worth living, just because you're different in your abilities from others, you're lesser in your abilities from others, then every human being is going to have some justification for why their life doesn't matter. Because they're not as good as somebody else at something. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. So it's not based off ability. It's not based off, size or placement. It's not like someone becomes a human by stepping out of the threshold of the uterus or something, out of the womb. No, someone is a human being as a result of being a human being, right? It's a result of being an individual who has a genetic material component, which accounts for their human body, and also their soul, their form, which accounts for their humanness. So, with all that being said, when it comes to abortion, some people will ask, what about, rape or incest or whatever else? For those things, I would say, okay, let's say you have a case of that. Let's say you do. Do you suddenly make a situation better for a mother who's been sexually assaulted? Do you make things better for her by then telling her to kill her kid? Well, no, because the psychological trauma of the event doesn't go away just because you kill a child. If anything, what you've done now is multiplied the psychological and biological trauma that this mother experiences, because there is severe consequence. There are severe consequences to the the act of abortion. It leads to serious traumatic experiences and consequences for mothers, and as a result, is not something that should be given as an escape from trauma, because it causes more trauma. So no, you don't reduce or lessen the amount of trauma a mother experiences just by giving her an abortion in those cases. If you're really hoping for a death penalty, then it would make more sense to give a death penalty if you really were obsessed with that death penalty. Someone has to die here. Then what would happen is this. You could say, oh, well then let's just go after, the rapist. No, what people go after instead, they go after the baby, because that's, to them, an easier solution. To kill the kid instead of dealing with the fact that this man sexually assaulted a woman, they kill the kid instead. So, again, all of this is just an introductory thing to say. Again, it's late at night. I just needed something to keep me awake while I was driving. But yeah, when one rips apart belief in God and family cohesion, how can we learn and progress as a species? The space fills with insanity as it was in the days of old. Exactly. Yeah, we do need something. We do need something that substantiates and grounds our moral beliefs. And without God, then it becomes quite relativistic, subjectivist, and wishy-washy from generation to generation. Sadly, that's true. So, all of this to say, quick live stream on abortion, but I just wanted to really make that clear. Abortion is murder. It is the intentional removal of an innocent life, an innocent human life. Therefore, it's murder. And it is predominantly used to target Black and Hispanic individuals in the U.S. About 67% of all abortions attack mostly minority groups, specifically Black and Hispanic. And that's because Margaret Sanger was a eugenicist, and the entire institution is a eugenicist solution for a lot of societal ails. which is why many people will keep on bringing up eugenics principles. What if someone will be born without a leg? They only have one leg. Or what if someone's going to be born and they're going to have less uh, high high speed thinking intellect compared to other people? Or what if someone's going to be born and they're going to have difficulty relating to people because of their autism? Or what if someone's going to be born with significant mental impairments because of Down syndrome? Or what if someone's going to be born into a poor family and they're going to struggle a lot? Or what if someone's born into a family that has a history of criminality, and so as a result, they're more likely genetically and culturally to do the same thing? Fun fact, eugenicists, racist genocidal eugenicists, have used these exact same arguments to justify killing hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. If you use that to justify abortion, you are no different in terms of your practical morality from Hitler or any of the other leaders, especially communistic leaders, who removed disabled people and dysgenic individuals from their populations in order to make a more effective and efficient society. That is a wicked evil. A wicked evil. Alrighty. I pray that God blesses all of you. I know that was a very intense discussion with very little time, but I just needed something to keep me awake. So I pray all of you stay safe. God bless you all. Have a great night. And I hope that you all enjoy this discussion in preparation for the much more broad discussion with about 34 slides detailing each of these responses. All right. God bless you.